Welcome back to our live coverage of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. I'm Andy Serwer, joined by Alexis Christoforous, and our guest, Steve Pagliuca, who is the co-chairman of Bain Capital and one of the owners of the Boston Celtics. Great to see you.
Great to be here. Thanks,
so
Andy.
Also an investor in Canada Goose, and last year you were here and you had the big Canada Goose jacket on, but I think we were outside because you would be dying if you had that jacket on today.
I do have it right outside here. It's a little colder outside, but it's probably the warmest Davos I've been to in 15 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And maybe that's climate change.
Maybe right at work,
right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you about private equity in Bain. And, you know, a lot of people were talking, I think Steve Schwarzman was saying, you know, he was suggesting we're at the top of the cycle given pricing and saying things are pretty expensive out there. Do you have a similar kind of view, Steve?
Absolutely. Stock markets, all-time cyclical high, multiples being paid, all-time high. So, you know, you have to be very selective in this kind of a market for sure.
So then where are you seeing some opportunity? Where is value not so lofty?
What are you doing in a time like this then?
Well, we've done some very, I think, unique and creative things because there hasn't been a lot of value in kind of the stock, you know, decent company. No. So we've been doing creative things like we bought a portfolio of central nervous system drugs from Pfizer. And they weren't able to invest in the drugs. They have so many investments going on. These were potentially life-saving things for MS, a whole host of everything they had in the central nervous system. So we formed a new company, put $350 million in to invest in commercializing these drugs alongside of Pfizer. So that's an example of a creative thing. Another creative thing would be we talked to Richard Branson 3 years ago, and he had a vision to build a state-of-the-art different kind of cruise line. And so we've raised and invested $2.7 billion in probably the world's largest startup, Virgin Voyages, which will actually go live in March.
That's very exciting.
March or April. The boat is. These boats are incredible boats. They're newly designed boats. They're environmentally friendly. They have 2,800 passengers, 1,400 rooms. Very unique kind of Virgin design and Virgin concept. It's the first cruise line that will be all adult. So you have Disney for kids and you have other cruise lines for everybody else. This is all adult. So very exciting, and they've built an incredible facility in Miami, and they'll be launching in April.
Steve, private equity has come under fire in the crosshairs for a number of years, but now maybe a little bit even more from the likes of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. What do you say to those people who think that you guys destroy jobs, don't pay your fair share in taxes, and those type of criticisms?
There's a lot of misinformation out there. And I'm actually on the other side of it. I'm not defensive. I'm very proud of having been in private equity since it was a very small industry when I got in it in the 80s. There was probably 5, 10 firms. So the proof in the pudding is there's 4,000 firms now. Assets under management in the 80s were probably $1 billion. They're into trillions now. The $4.5 trillion of market cap companies are private equity companies. And for reference, the stock market figure is probably $35 trillion. So it's become a large part of the economy. 9 million people are employed in private equity companies in the USA. The misnomer is, if we look at the Bain Capital companies, every company we have since inception, what's the employment now and the employment when we bought them, we're 1.1 million up, 1.1 million up in jobs. So what the misinformation is that private equity just comes in and cut costs. Actually, you don't make any money when you cut costs, certainly in an era where multiples are high. People want to buy growth businesses. There's not a lot of multiple expansion left, so you fundamentally have to grow the businesses. Now, so that really is in counter to what's being said out there. Our companies, again, have grown twice the revenues of the S&P companies. Every bank, we did an analysis of Bain Capital companies' revenue growth. It's twice the S&P.
Is that because you can just be more nimble than a publicly traded company can?
That's a great question, Alexis. I think it involves 2 or 3 things. First, it's more nimble. Second, the reason the industry has flourished is that the owner-operator model of people coming in and focusing on a company to grow it and make it bigger and better has really worked better for certain classes of companies. Public companies don't like ups and downs in earnings, and they have to watch every quarter. So when we invest, we can invest in something like Serwer, where we put $350 million and we don't make any money for 3 years, and then we bring these products out. Very hard to do as a public company to take those earnings hits to make those investments. So there's a segment of the market that really is amenable to private equity. That business model has worked very, very well, allows them to be nimble, allows quicker and better governance, allows more expertise to come in. If you step back, Bain Capital was founded in 1984 with the principle that we could take these consulting skills developed by Bain and apply them to businesses across the board, strategic consulting skills. That was, I would call that Bain Capital 1.0. And we founded companies like Staples that grew many venture startups. Then that was $36 million. Today it's $100 billion. And we've gone to the next phase is now being expert in vertical markets. So we have global healthcare group, we have a global consumer retail group, a global tech group. So we can spread this knowledge in companies globally. And then I would say Bain 3.0 in the last 3 or 4 years, we've developed functional expertise to spread to these companies. So we've hired digital marketing experts, zero-based budgeting experts, manufacturing experts. So the private equity model, Bain Capital and all the others have grown because it's a better model for a lot of companies.
Let me shift gears and ask you about the NBA, because the league has been run so well for so many years. You had David Stern and Adam Silver, his successor, did a great job. But then you had the Daryl Morey thing, and it was kind of a black eye. It looked like they didn't really handle it that well. What's your take on that situation and, letting players speak their mind?
Well, the NBA has always had a great track record of kind of social responsiveness and also a great track record with China. So I don't know if there were missteps or not, but I think it's going to get solved. And Adam Silver, David was an incredible commissioner. In fact, I came from his funeral to here, and that was a very, very sad morning because he was not that old, and I just talked to him a few weeks ago. So there was an outpouring with the basketball world. Yao Ming even came to the funeral. So,
is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think hopefully that'll get resolved. The league is doing great. It's more competitive. If you've watched the games, many teams can win it this year, so it's been a very exciting season. Fortunately, we won last night, and right before I left, we beat the Lakers. So I've been in a very good mood.
Congratulations. This is a nice way to kick off your Davos time. And certainly of all the leagues, the NBA has a global brand, I think, unlike any other league. I would imagine a lot of that is due to Stern.
Stern and Adam Silver, both of them together, I think were way out ahead of the curve. When we first purchased the Celtics in 2003, I remember going to owners' meetings, and some of the owners were saying, why are we spending all this money in China? Why are we spending all this money in Europe? There's really, it's a cost. And David and Adam said, basketball is a global game. It's going to be good for the game. Be patient with us. And certainly the Celtics, we agreed with that philosophy. But I can't tell you, I didn't think it would be this big, this fast. So David was a true visionary, and Adam is too. And Adam is going to take it to the next level. We've opened up the NBA in Africa, for example.
Yes, that's exciting.
I think that's going to be a very exciting
NBA CapEx, right?
There you go. They're spending, and we just have to have the rest of them spend.
Yeah, investing in Africa, and so it's going to be. I think we're only the beginning of it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's one of the few global sports: soccer / football and baseball and
hockey, I guess, to some extent too. But
hockey to some extent, but those are the two big ones.
Yeah, Steve Pagliuca, co-chair of Bain Capital. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
It was great to be here. Thanks for having me.